You're welcome here if you're she, he, we or they. You're welcome here if you're gay, straight or working it out. You're welcome here if you're in a relationship, single, divorced or widowed. You are welcome here if you're inked, pierced, both or neither.
You're welcome here if you're young.
Or young at heart.
You're welcome here if your neurons like to be typical or like to be spicy. You're welcome here if you're more Christian than Collins and Witch Hazel or haven't got the whole faith thing yet.
You are welcome here if you're living on a prayer or could use a prayer right now. You are welcome here if you've got it all sorted or if you've got doubts. You are welcome here.
As moon rises, the sun slips sight, begins the ritual of this night, for those convinced their path is right. Gathered from north, south, east and west, yet called at another's behest, those treading the path that is left. From near and far come as you are to this place and embrace this space as darker hue embraces you.
Good evening, Hugh.
Spirit, earth and fire, confessing the sins of empire, we come with our wounds and desire. Sensing that we are not alone, drawn to the flame that guides us home, for here you, me and yet to be. Importance and signs of these times, for the sake of all those maligned, is yet the home of the divine. Hello, good evening, and welcome. How are you? Welcome to Saturday. So this is normally when we'd have done it in person because it is the third Saturday of the month, but due to various people being in various places, that has not been this month. So yes, back from from the cabin, it is I, Leclerc. So yeah, how are you? Be love to hear how you are, particularly starting as we always do, things that are making you feel good. That's giving you that sort of I've just heard the best song or riff ever. I've just been to the best gig ever. Massive crowd, positive experience. Yeah, please let us know how you are. What's rocking your world at the moment? Who are you thinking? Have a type. Welcome if you're joining us for the first time as well as regulars or at Torrent. And yeah, feel free to put a comment in on YouTube or Facebook. What's rocking your world? And now something completely different where you have a think about that.
Well, thank God for small mercies.
too? Shall we be downcast too? Or stand shield to shield, together in the field? We refuse to yield. Steadfastly holding the line, full of wings in eternity's time. We keep pressing forward until our last, and our cry shall be forever truth's attack.
I'm joking. It's not even funny. So this this blue snowball microphone took a bit of a tumble during the week repeatedly, and so this is the first time I've used it. So I've not changed any settings. So it may be that it has gone. Well, it's not a blue snowball. It's now sort of some of that yellow. I mean, not yellow snow. I mean, that'd be gross. I mean, never eat yellow snow, but that's sort of like icky grey slush that you get at the side of the road after cars have. Yeah. So if this is bust, let me know, because I can switch to a different microphone. But yes, thank you to those on Patreon for whom enabled us to purchase this for this purpose. But apologies if we've just now kind of caned it. Yeah. So just looking for a comment on is it hearable? It sounds okay with Nigel. Yeah, that's because you always turn me on mute anyway. Maybe it's just me, but so normally I would put it on my desk like this, and I would talk like that, and you'd be able to hear me. Can you hear me now? All right? If I just talk like this rather than sort of like licking the snowball. Don't lick yellow, blue snowballs. Okay. So I may just not have projected enough initially. Thank you, though. Always good to get the feedback, because let's be honest, I don't know what I'm doing, and I should not be in charge of anything technical. No, that's right. Oh, Hill says hello. It's, what a great test card that would make, wouldn't it? I mean, probably that would be better, but yeah. So, yes, thank you for sharing those things for which thou art thankful, cheerful, positive. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Rachel. Hi, Joyce. Hello, Joyce. Hi, Joyce. Hello, Joyce. Hi, Isabel. Bob, Michelle. I think I said that. I don't know. So, Nigel as well, and anybody else who's kind of tuning in, please do comment if you want to. No pressure. So yes, good stuff. Book challenge update. Book 18 of 52. Like we're done in like 2 months, 3 months, man. That's awesome. That's amazing. That is very cool. That's very cool. I think inspired by you, I've tried to start doing some reading again. So I bought a load of books about autism, and I've nearly finished the first one. That was good. I've realised it's not the best thing to read before trying to go to sleep. So yes, tried to get back into some of the other books I was reading. Yeah, but that's awesome. That's inspiring, you see. So thank you for sharing, because we encourage and inspire each other. And okay, so Isabel. Okay, finally got your hospital appointment. Amazing. 11 and a half months, man. And you got your first Witch Hazel CD. So which one is it? So is it Pentecost, as featured on the flag at the back? Hold on. So I've just tried to find the sacrament patch that's lurking somewhere, signed at Regenerate. I'm never going to wash it. Yeah, I'd love to know which CD it is, and any particular standout tracks for you on said CD. And yes. Also, the important stuff. Sorry, as Torrance says, and I'm sure the rest of us, we hope the appointment goes well, and yeah, be thinking of you and praying for you. Yeah, and also Isabel, just continuing to think about you and your kind of local on-site church as following that decision to cease to meet for worship. Just continuing to hold you all in thought. So already know it's going to be surgery done. But already know that it's got to be surgery. But okay, yeah. It's weird, isn't it? The sort of stuff that becomes normal after a while, which in some ways is a good way, because we just kind of know that it works and we just kind of go through it. But it's just recognizing the sort of stuff that I suppose you all carry in different ways, and that each of our normals is different. But sometimes it's a lot in it. So he hasn't got me on mute this week. Good man. Well, he hadn't then. He has now. Wait a minute. No, mostly manga though. No, manga's what that totally counts. That's totally awesome. That's fantastic. That's brilliant. I'll tell you what I'm choosing tacking for. So the manga bit inspired me. So having ploughed through the most recent Transformers comic that's been reissued, not reissued, within the Energon universe, so it includes like a load of G.I. Joe and associated stuff. I caught up with them all, and I was kind of then having a whole month before the next one came out. So I have stockpiled January and February, so I've got 2 to read together. So I'm thankful for that having arrived today. It's nice to have Seekers on the front there. On this month's edition, we have Skywarp and Thundercracker, and Starscream is always a fan of that, aren't you? Hello, squishies. Yes, all the Starscreams are a fan of that, because you can never have too much Starscream. No, because he's the best. Yes, he is. A triangle of doom. So yes, hey, any form of art, literature, stuff that just engages us is all good. So yes. So yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I lots of friends did. I think I never quite. I wouldn't say I'm into comics in the way that other people are. I appreciate them. I think having missed the original UK Marvel UK as it was Transformers comic, and being a huge Transformers fan, mainly a fan of Starscream, because he's really scary, and if I say anything different, he might hit me with his null ray, which sounds not good at the best of times. But I think I kind of preferred sort of novelization, I guess, and films or series. But I think I've this one not going to miss out on it. But it hasn't said. I guess I found, because it's so, unless you just get in on one and go for it, trying to come into something like Batman or something, or Marvel, just seems so all-encompassing that it just it's too much. So okay, so you've got until December, so you've got planned weddings. Do you know what? That's awesome. I have not had. I've had one wedding in one of the church's physical on-site building bricks things, churches where I am. Ironically, it's the church that ceased to meet just before Christmas. But anyway, so if you've got weddings in your church, that's amazing, because not around here. There are loads of weddings, but I think certainly Methodist buildings compared to perhaps Church of England, particularly, I think in terms of one that looks nice in the photos, perhaps, I think unless you worship at a local Methodist church, obviously some of the ones from the 18th century are beautiful, and some of the Wesleyan ones particularly, also some of the primitive ones, just all of the buildings and what it says about different theological perspectives. I'm not saying one's right, one's wrong, but together we learn and go perhaps get a broader glimpse of this infinite thing that is the universal force of love and relationship I call God, the divine, the other, the all parent. So that's amazing that you've got those happening. And I hope they go well. So okay, so Sacrament. Okay. So the most recent. So any particular standout track for you, Isabel? I'm just trying to think
I like all of them. I am a sucker for a drum intro. I always love anything that brings the bass out into the fore. So I don't know. I think I've played it on vinyl. I'm going to say I think I probably. So I always end up listening to side A more than side B because you've got to then commit to get up and turn it over, or have the time to listen to both. So yeah. Where is it? I can't find it. But anyway, yeah, love to hear what your favourite is. Okay, so light novels. Okay. So still with kind of illustrations then, and some, but more sort of expanded text rather than speech bubbles. I think again as well, I just look at a frame in a comic and I never quite know. I know, I'll just be reading sort of Arabic or other languages that read right to left, kind of left to right. But when it goes up and down as well, I'm not quite sure. I have to read each bit 3 times to make sure I've kind of got the right information in the right order. And then when you've read something that a speech bubble that isn't necessarily in the right order and it's therefore out of sequence, the sort of the impact of that frame kind of like I've ruined it for myself. That was far much more information than you needed. Oh, cool. So Isabel likes one of them too. Only arrived Thursday, so can't pick a favorite yet. No, fantastic. No, that's excellent. It's I'm really glad that you got it and you're enjoying it. Yeah, I think others have said this, and it's great that with each album, as they continue to hone their craft, but also I guess being able to devote more and more time to things alongside other jobs, and also the recognition they get in just the polish. And I don't mean in sort of a kind of for those who don't like Metallica's Black Album, where all that sort of 80s, early 90s thing when, every hard rock metal band started to sound like kind of Hysteria, Adrenalize era, Def Leppard, sort of almost, not there's anything wrong with that because I like both those albums, my favourite ones, but just that huge production sound. But it almost becomes formulaic, but just the tightness of it, I think, the tightness of it as well as the production values, I guess, because there is more resource or whatever. But yeah, I think with each one it's just got I mean, who knows where they're going to go, because it's just fantastic. And just being able to listen to things and just see how the development's happening, and they all still sound amazing. It's not like and Justice for All where you can't hear any bass, and we all know the reasons why, etc. But like, I still can't listen to that album because the production on it is just awful, and I can't do it. It doesn't hit, whereas all of those Witch albums hit in the right way, sonically, but you just kind of go, oh wow, with each one, oh wow, and so long may it continue, and may you enjoy listening to it. Okay, so these are so proper young adult novels spread over multiple volumes that have illustrations every now and then. Cool. Okay. Yeah, okay, thank you. That's helpful. I shall go and have a look. I do like browsing, so I shall go and look in a proper thing. So, Michelle, thankful for being able to see Queensryche in Manchester Academy this week. Amazing. Yeah. Operation Mindcrime. Fantastic. I bet that was amazing. Lovely. Oh, that's wonderful. Good for you. So people were asking in terms of Kate's question about what do you appreciate about Metal Methodist stuff? What can we do more of, do different, do whatever? What would you like to see? I think people have been asking about kind of gig guides or new releases and stuff, which is fantastic. So obviously we've talked about the Back to the Beginning Black Sabbath tour. I think Gisela mentioned Saxon last week. So yeah, kind of sharing news about gigs that we are aware of is really good to share. And we'll perhaps incorporate that in the notices. A bit of time just to, but heads up if you want to flag any gigs you're going to, aware of. Obviously, we've mentioned Plague of Angels playing at York Minster in April. I think Gareth made a comment about, I think Kate shared the Methodist Church post featuring Nadia, whose surname I've forgotten, but who's doing a kind of theological webinar thing, which looks really good. And she has amazing tattoos, and that would be a good person to interview. So on the back of that, I've emailed Plague of Angels. Haven't heard back yet about whether they'd like to do an interview or a conversation here with us. So we can all go, it's awesome what you're doing, yeah, rather than sort of some of the less than encouraging comments that have been printed in Christian press. So we'll see how that goes. Uriah Heep in Birmingham, fantastic. There we go. So there's more news. Fantastic. Okay. So a more comprehensive list of Christian metal artists and music. Yeah. So I'm aware once I start this, it will be a sort of whole kind of, and I have done it previously. I think I've not published it. I've sat and done, we're not autistically or ADHD-esque kind of rating my favourite star screams or fancy pens or whatever. Have done kind of stuff, and I confess that I personally am certainly more au fait with 80s, 90s stuff. But there are. So what I think what I've done is kind of. But yes, it's the short answer. Sorry, Torrin. Yes, let's do that. Thank you, Michelle. Nadia Boltz Weber. Weber. What an awesome name. I mean, that is a symphonic metal vocalist name in one, isn't it? It's amazing. In fact, we could all volunteer to be the backing band. The Nadia Volts Weather Band. Yeah. Yes, I could get myself in trouble doing a list. I mean, it wouldn't be kind of. I mean, I could get myself into trouble and spend like the next, all my life doing it, and then reviewing it. I would not put it in order. I would do it by genre. And I think I would have tried. So I've seen ones usually on American websites where. It's people going, well, I've been saved. Therefore, I can't possibly listen to secular metal music generally. So, these are my favourite bands. So I'm looking for Christian bands that sound like that. What would you recommend? And that's fine. Happy to do that. But I think, either some things defy kind of matching across that way, or certainly when I looked into that, I'm going, it's all right, but it's not as good as the thing I was listening to before discovering this. So I guess trying to offer information, allow people to discover what absolutely ticks their box and floats their boat and blows their speakers. So yes, happy to do that. I think in terms of current stuff, particularly in the UK, and I'm particularly interested in Christian stuff. Then obviously Witch Hazel, Confessions of a Traitor, Back Pocket Prophet. I'm not sure they're still active. Kind of a UK thrash thing. Detritus, I've had stuff in the last couple of years. In terms of bands that I think either have had or Christian members or who were at the time Christian, or bands that are open to bigger questions, which is pretty much any band really, I think, certainly in terms of metal. But My Silent Wake, I really enjoy listening to things like My Silent Bride as well, like gothic stuff. Just kind of because it's in no way Christian. I guess it's not anti-Christian, I don't think, but asking some questions about life and experience. So I think I shall try and get on with it. Okay. So, yes, Joyce went to see the Led Zeppelin film, which was brilliant, and the staff at the cinema was so kind as I told them I find stairs difficult. I was escorted to your seat by a lovely young man, and he met me again at the end of the film. Isn't that lovely? Oh, that's really nice. That's cool. I did similar, for different reasons, and I hung about at the end of the last Transformers film, refusing to leave until absolutely I knew sure I hadn't missed any other kind of content. But it's lovely that they kind of just responded, and because it can feel. Sorry, I'm just going to. Hello. Just aware that it can. yeah, you turn up, you get your drinks, and then you sit in the dark, and it can be quite an impersonal thing. And for some people, that's brilliant. That's what you want. But yeah, being able to actually ask for help, which in itself can be something that requires a bit of courage. But no, I was really glad. So thank you, that young man. That's brilliant. I once went to a cinema. I think it was called. I don't think it was called Easy Cinema, but it was run by what's his face, who used to own or still owns EasyJet, and it was at Milton Keynes, and it was completely unstaffed. It was. I don't know what you do in that situation, because you book your tickets online, you turn up, and then if you want a drink, it's like vending machines for stuff, and then you go in and watch the cinema, and it's just pre-programmed on a computer. Whether somebody comes and cleans it, I guess, was the only staff there. It was a very odd experience. So, hurrah for helpful people still employed by cinemas and who can help as well. That's wonderful. So I shall email Nadia. I think there's a few people saying that'd be a good idea, so we'll do that. And we'll see if Plague of Angels kind of come back with stuff. And again, I would say, depending on where you are in the country, bands like Witch Hazel, as well as popping off and playing festivals in Europe quite a bit, do pop up at their local kind of rock clubs kind of in the northwest if you ever are up that way for a holiday. So I've heard some good things about this film. I heard an interview, I think, with the director, because he was saying that Led Zeppelin don't do films. It's never kind of happened before, and he just apparently turned up, said what he was trying to do, and they didn't. Each person just spoke to him, which I think is the first time that's kind of happened. So, yeah, I think that's wonderful. So, very, very interesting. Instead of a book club, we could have a film club and book club as well. But if others have seen it, let us know when you have, and we can have a chat about it. Oh wow! To actually know a couple of people who saw them at Nebworth, that is amazing. Yeah. Wow. Oh no, Nigel did not get tickets for Black Sabbath. Oh dear. Well, thank you for sharing what this day has made Yao say. Choose attack, and also Nigel seamlessly linking us into those things which are heavy. Not in a cool metal way, including not getting a ticket. Is it the internet that's done this? I don't know. In the late 90s, the early noughties, I guess, is where I was going to gigs more frequently. And I don't know. This wasn't the thing, and now it's a nightmare. It feels like, I know it's tickets and it's gigs, but also it's livelihood, and it's art, and it's shared experience. It brings people together, and yet within that, you kind of want to ask the question: well, who's making the money out of all of this? I know, artists in terms of bands, but it just, I'm not sure sometimes how much control or whatever will say the artists actually have. I know there's an inquiry going on, and Ticketmaster refused to take part of it. They're also under investigation because of the dynamic pricing around the Oasis bucket hat convention. But it's kind of, in terms of a justice thing, it feels a bit wrong. Is it the natural end of music and art in a capitalist kind of culture? That sounded very left-wing, didn't it? Yeah, it did. I know. You love it, don't you, Hild? I do. Be interesting to talk about that and people's experiences, and does it put you off? But in terms of getting the right heat tickets, how's that compare? Anyway, but what is challenging for you at the moment that you want to lay down? Just an opportunity to share that as we share in these words. I don't know why I'm pulling my own hair up at the back. I think I decided this might be I think this might be a stim thing. I don't know. Not the hair bit, but just, oh, shut up, James. just generally kind of try to hold my brain in or make it work. Anyway, yes, let's lay things down with this.
The principalities and will to power, the worms from within my own darkest hour. I confess all the regrets and the regrets, the burdens and fears, the lament and the tears. I lay them down.
I lay down this internet connection. Every time I play this kind of sort of video content, it's just freezing my end. So I hope it's all right out there. So as we lay those things down, the divine, the other, the universal force of love, God, comes running out to meet us in the person of Jesus, the original long-haired bearded dude from Nazareth, and says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden. Even if you don't like Iron Maiden, then why wouldn't you? And I will give you rest. May rest and peace be yours this night." Amen. You're in 2 pre-sales. The first one cut you off. The second one was number 42,221. And the third one, you were number 68,025. You got the choice of 1 ticket for £2,500. That puts even my Taylor Swift experience. I mean, I just want to be clear. I'm doing that on behalf of children, right? My children. Yeah, and that was good news. All these tickets available, and the cheapest one is £668. I'm thinking, yes, but I need to times that by the number of children plus then at least 1 adult. No, that's not happening. Wow. Yeah. And I know, unlike, Oasis, this really is feeling like last knockings, right? Yeah. So, and I get that. And so, but it's that thing of, it's just that sense of, to what extent is it compressed and hyped up by people making a lot of money by creating systems and opportunities that don't necessarily do anything that enables more and more people to appreciate someone's artistic output. And the fact that if there are that number of people wanting to buy those tickets, and that shows after generation, when there was much more accessibility to music and gigs, that's the impact that music has had. And will that be the same going forward when there's this kind of funnel bottleneck thing created where so few people, it feels like are going to be in a situation of going, oh yes, I was there when Taylor Swift blah blah blah. No, because I don't know. More people who didn't get a ticket than did. So I don't know. It's concerning. And at the other extreme, people trying to cut through and make their way. Witch Hazel, other bands exactly like that. Working other jobs with families, trying to cram this all in. And how sustainable is that, long term? And what's the impact in terms of well-being and burnout, etc.? I'm not saying any of that affects, of any risk of affecting Witch Hazel, but it's a lot. And it's kind of this, again, it's the kind of almost the 2-tier system. Mad. The only good thing about the Black Sabbath gig is the money is going to 3 Birmingham charities. Yes. Yeah, and that is good. And yeah, let's respect that. And also bands like the Sun's Journey Through the Night. A lot of their single sales and other things directly going to support Birmingham Children's Hospital. So again, thank you, musicians, because again, I think musicians have a conscience, and artists, because you're reflecting back and writing about human experience and life. It just makes you wonder don't know whether it just feels like there's potentially capitalist cynicism going on in the system as well. But is that an inevitable part of free market? I don't know. Not trying to get political about it, but yeah. But where, yeah, you know, those. It would be like if, you know, whichever bands today who. So there's people who first went and saw, you know, I don't know, Nebworth, for example, and saw Led Zeppelin, and then go and form a band, and then they became the next generation's equivalent of Led Zeppelin, and it goes on and on and on. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like we're doing each generation a disservice in terms of encouraging creativity. And I know everyone can record and blah 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 and chuck it out, but actually because then there's so much available kind of in the MP3 world that, you know, trying to even cut through that becomes even harder. So yeah, I mean, just respect for musicians. Less so for the current system around it. Yeah, so many tickets being resold on social media, and yet they're going, oh, you can't do that because you have to turn up with, you know, the credit card you bought it on that's linked to that seat and that thing, and you get kicked out. I think there's examples of that happening at Iron Maiden gigs. You know, because Iron Maiden, you know, proactively, Rod Smallwood, I mean, you want to mess with him, you know, trying to do stuff. But again, I don't know, you've got to be in a system to try and change the system. But yeah, you know, who are these people buying it? It's supposed to be only through Ticketmaster. Yeah. And then you think, but you see, I wouldn't. I wouldn't, because I'd be so worried about turning up with this ticket I bought off the interweb from somebody, and it looks all legit. But if they then ask me, we need to demonstrate and provide that card to show you haven't resold it, and effectively, well, it's making what were ticket touts that met out, you know, hassled you outside of gigs. You know, it's turning kind of ordinary fans into that to some extent. But then I'm not going to take a risk on that because they want to travel to wherever the nearest massive arena is, which is probably Sheffield, obviously, and then you know, Manchester, Birmingham, and then discover that actually, because it's not linked to you at the point of purchase, not letting you in, which is probably what needs to happen in order to change it, actually. Yeah, but I think you're right, Isabel. Thank you. Glenn Tipton's Parkinson's Foundation and Richie Faulkner's donations to heart research. Yeah. And hospitals. Excuse me. Sorry, itchy eye. And hospitals by buying T-shirts. Yeah. But they're also, aren't they? And I know, you know, people have commented on the price of, say, the Methodist thing, and, you know, we have tried to look at what equivalent shirts are being sold at in order, and then going is about kind of generating some income to allow, when initial funding for things like Metal Methodist is no more, to allow it to continue. So maybe I need to shut up because I don't know, being hypocritical asking for that, but yeah. And so one of the things we discussed at the Metal Methodist steering group during the week was, you know, kind of around membership, and not membership as in, you know, you have to pay to be a member of Metal Methodist, but in terms of like, if this is like trying to create a community around a shared love of music, but also asking questions around faith. If you went to a church, you know, perhaps a plate or something or a blippy thing at the back, you know, comes around and you give not because you have to, but because it's kind of usually going to support the work of that, and hopefully the good stuff that can help. So that's one of the things we are kind of thinking about. But it's, yeah, I guess it all comes into the same questions, doesn't it? So yeah. Thank you. I'm just going to share quickly a reading from the Metal Bible. Obviously, I mean the Metal Bible, the Bible. What is metal? So metal it's made of paper. I know people are still interested in these. Kate has hers, and I think has distributed them. I I have 10 that I'm still waiting for. 5 are accounted for, 5 are available. So do let us know, me or Kate, if you haven't already, if you would like one. You can order your own, obviously, at metalbibleInternational.com. Yeah, hold on. So weirdly, this is a metal Bible made of metal, but it's not the metal Bible. Although, I mean, it kind of technically is, because it's the same translation, New Living Translation, in a metal case, but it's Old and New Testament, and it doesn't have what the metal Bible is. I don't have any anymore because I've given it away. In terms of the interviews with Nico from Iron Maiden and Dave Ellefson from Megadeth and Alice Cooper and various other people. So it hasn't got that bit around it. So yeah, a metal Bible, what is metal? The metal Bible, what is metal but made of paper? And they are yet to produce a metal Bible in metal. Though weirdly, I suppose we could make our own, because this is like some sort of metal case thing with it kind of glued in. So I could just, in fact, that's what I could do. I might just take this out. But I think this was gifted to me, and thank you to the person who gave it to me. I do believe that the hands of Mr. Ken Riley from early noughties, late 90s, early noughties Christian band Why Friday, read from when reading from Isaiah during Everlasting God on would have been the Universal Broadcast Tour. So you haven't discovered Why Friday, originally from the Northeast, kind of, I suppose, indie punk kind of vibes, and yeah. So if you know the song "Everlasting God," which starts "Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord," Ken Riley is one of the writers of that. I think it won a Dove Award for Christian music, which I think is American, where obviously Christian music is just much more prominent and prevalent than it is in the UK. So yeah, if you like sort of catchy choruses, good guitars, a bit of harmony, and some added breadth from keyboards, and just in your face drumming, then yeah, I recommend it too. And obviously, you know, Danny as well on the bass. Yeah, I recommend them to you. So yes, Isabel, duly noted, and Torrent as well. Yep. So that means I have 3 left of the 5 that are left after the person that I've got them for has their 5. So that's fine. Cool. Yeah, they were a great band, weren't they, Nigel? Yeah, I was involved in putting them on in Bedford twice, which is cool. Yeah, in Bedford's kind of alternative rock live music venue and nightclub, kind of a sort of watered down Rock City, Nottingham kind of, or Julia's Rock World in Preston kind of vibe. But it was actually had been a Methodist church. And I don't think we realized, we knew it had been a Christian building. We hadn't realized until I was at the back and I saw a brick where it had in bricks and sort of given in memory of, or somebody's made a donation or subscription to help the building of a church. And it had this thing that kind of we worked out made this building and this congregation an ancestor of Priory Methodist Church where I was in Bedford, and who, with the youth group there, were the people involved in putting on this gig, thanks to the legendary Reverend Jim Gorringe, going, you want to do something kind of that is more relevant to you as young people, that is not our current Sunday morning worship, I'll absolutely back you. and he was one of the idea of putting on some sort of Christian band in a secular setting, and it happened, and it turned out there's a direct link between the church that put it on, his vision, and this church where we actually did it. So yeah, that was great. So yeah, Nigel's done some good stuff as well. Yeah. And just genuinely nice people, just lovely. Yeah. But again, certainly I think when I was, youth group that I was working with, that was, if Petra, to a lesser extent Striper, back in the day, well, Seventh Angel and Detritus in the UK and Firefly, but mainly American bands in the late 80s, 90s were the ones that kind of got me through musically, being in touch with God, even though I would argue that, would say that I didn't believe in God. I think, for, Wine Friday, for that generation that I was involved working with, it's probably the same as a soundtrack to our teenage moments of self-discovery. And yeah, we went to see Iron Maiden and Def Leppard and other people, but that sense of, it's just, you are more able to be yourself, it's more accepting, etc., it's safer, and that's what we're trying to achieve. And I think I'm doing what I did because of some of that music and experiences of people who drove me around to gigs like that. And who knows if that generation that you work with, Nigel, that I've been involved with, the sort of stuff that they're involved with because of that. And so it goes on and on and on and on. And that's how the kingdom of God grows, man. Totally. Yeah. So this reading then, which is from Luke 6:17 to 26. If you're going to a church service online or in person tomorrow, this is probably the gospel reading, meaning good news about, in this context, good news about Jesus. That's where gospel comes from, in Greek, I think. Greek, yes. No. Yeah, I don't know. Forgotten now. Quick, fetch a theologian. Nadia, get her on speed dial. Right. When they came down from the mountain, the disciples stood on a large level area surrounded by many followers and the crowds. So this is like Nebworth, right? Or Monsters of Rock, or Blaze Bailey played some Witch Hazel the other night on Monsters of Rock. Cool. Anyway, sorry, think about Witch Hazel now. There were people from all over the shop. They'd come to hear him and to be healed of their diseases. And those troubled by evil spirits were healed as well. Everyone tried to touch Jesus because of the healing power went out from him, and he healed everyone. So it's like that bit where, you've got your hand up at the front, and whoever the guitar god or whatever it is, you kind of gives you a high five, or whatever. You catch the drumstick or the pick. Then Jesus turned to his disciples and said, God blesses you who are poor, for the kingdom of God is yours. God blesses you who are hungry now, for all will be satisfied. God blesses you who weep now, for in due time all of you will laugh. What blessings await you when people hate you and exclude you and mock you and curse you as evil because you follow the Son of Man. When that happens, be happy. Yes, leap for joy, for a great reward awaits you in heaven. And remember that ancestors treated the ancient prophets in the same way. What sorrow awaits you who are rich, for you have your only happiness now. What sorrow awaits you, those who are fat and prosperous now. I'm not sure that we'd include that translation now. I think you can only talk about fat cats, don't we? But there are many reasons why, let's not go there. That's not okay. Anyway, what sorrow awaits you who laugh now, for your laughing will return to mourning and sorrow. What sorrow awaits you who are praised by the crowds, for their ancestors also praised false prophets. So, what's kind of going on here? I'd love to know what you think. I should start waffling, and then you can chip in and say something more useful than I'm doing. So this is the beginning of, blessed are the cheesemakers, but not specifically limited to cheesemakers, but indeed inclusive of all producers of dairy products. It's good news for all. Justice for all, good news for all. So this is the Beatitudes, or the Beatitudes, and it is about attitudes. So beatitude, blessings, but also actually describing a mindset, I guess, for those who are following Jesus. So up to this point, Jesus has done his kind of manifesto, reading from Isaiah. I've come to bring good news to the poor, and freedom for the oppressed. Today you're hearing these words are being fulfilled. Mic drop. And he goes and calls the disciples. People are going to follow him. So by this point, we've got the kind of the 12 that we know about, who are kind of, I guess, the core lineup. But then there's the crowds. There's the crowds who are all absolutely, following Jesus in the same way that, if, kind of. Swifties, it's the equivalent of that. It's kind of this. Everyone is included, so this is a huge number of people who are kind of following Jesus. Yeah, which is just, yeah. Cheetos and what's-its. Cheetahs and what's-its. Cheez-Its with very no. So, yeah, I think about that. Potentially faked, but still, you're never going to sleep again at night. Allegedly leaked photo of somebody orange having that orange person having a spray tan. It's before the watershed. Sorry. So Jesus is basically saying, so he's called people to be his disciples, or his crowds have come because of him. They're responding to who he is. The one from what Jesus is saying, I'm the one you've been waiting for, the one who is going to bring freedom in this unjust and often corrupt, back to the dodginess around ticket sales, etc., but where those who have lots and those who don't, just glass ceilings, whether it's to do with your experience as because of the colour of your skin, because of gender, because of sexuality, because of ability, compared to what the dominant view of what able means, as opposed to disabled, when actually we as society disable people because of the structures that we put in place and what we don't put in place to enable people. So Jesus is saying, good news, but actually, if you are this person and you are on the edge and you are struggling in this world, that actually God's kingdom, today when you're hearing these words are being fulfilled, it's here, it's now, it's not a future thing. This is radical stuff. This is realized eschatology. This is like stuff that's supposed to happen at the end of time, happening here and now, in the person of Jesus, and it's liberation theology. It's faith being used for social change, and quite often we like to keep faith somewhere else, despite there being bishops in the House of Lords. They're often told to shut up when they're critiquing government policy. That's notwithstanding the lessons and the changes that churches need to make, not just the Church of England, but in terms of actually not being part of the dodginess of values and society, where those who suffer are continuing to suffer because of an unwillingness to change systems to be more just and to hear those who who aren't heard, etc. So Jesus is saying, you've had this experience, but actually the time is coming, and it starts now, where it's we're all going to be down the front in this immense festival, the kingdom of God, as kind of the eternal concert of joy and justice and peace. And so then this message is going, well, actually, so it's blessings for those people who are on the edge and struggling, but actually, if you are potentially orange, and lording it over the people, and if you are one of the sort of fat cat type people, and you've got your whatever £1 million bonuses and all those other things, and not thinking about where stuff comes from in your supply chain, and not thinking about the impact on the environment, and not thinking about the person that cleans the toilets in your building and what they get paid compared to somebody else, etc. financially, in terms of prosperity, you are rich and abundant and these things, and yet you are not demonstrating a moral concern for justice and for the well-being of others, then this is not good news. This is what Jesus is saying, which gets me very excited. That is probably my autistic ADHD justice thing. I am struggling with that. This thing about justice. I've always loved this verse, and Jesus in the reading from Isaiah today in your hearing, and justice for all starts now. That's always excited me. But receiving my diagnosis and realizing that an acute sense of justice is perhaps part of neurodivergency, kind of going, I'm working that out. I'm being challenged about the way I've viewed the world and things, and maybe I've seen things as too black and white. Maybe there's more sides to every story. Maybe people do the best they can whilst being very, very well off, and you have to be in those situations in order to seek to benefit people. So all the stuff, for example, the Bill Gates Foundation does is only possible because of probably the genius of Bill Gates, but getting to that position where he has the resource to benefit other people under this philanthropic stuff. So is my sort of naive, am I just being naive about we should share everything more equally, etc., etc.? Does that make me sort of just very left wing or whatever? So what do you think about this sort of message? Is it good news to you if you identify in that group, in terms of that Jesus says blessings to you if you're poor, if you're hungry, if you're mourning and weeping, and struggling, And I know as a nation, for those in the UK, or indeed kind of pretty much most of Europe, we are in that very, very comparatively in that very, very well off bit, and so there's that corporate responsibility as well, isn't there, as community and nation and church as well as business. So maybe it isn't as clear cut, but I guess what I come away with is when things like the post office scandal happen, when things like Grenfell happen, that actually there is a reckoning, that there is a it's not about a witch hunt sort of thing, or generally trying to target a particular group, for example, because they happen to be women and had understood all the blessings that we are provided with in the wonder of creation that might actually do us some good. Whoa, the witch, burn the witch, she's a witch. It's not, I'm not saying that, but that sense of, if you think that ultimately exploiting others, if what matters more to you is the number of zeros in your bank account and that you're all right, Jack, and everyone else, then that isn't just, says God, I think. And there is consistently, for me, better theologians, proper theologians, actual theologians, have said there is a bias towards the poor with God in the Bible, in the Torah, in the Old Testament, all of the Deuteronomic law given to Moses, and this is like the Jesus kind of version of that. It's the remastered version, if you like. It's taking all of that and going here and now, and in all of those things, it's about compassion, it's about solidarity, it's about justice, it's about inclusion, it's about thinking about the other, and that's all the way out throughout Old and New Testament. And I guess the question is, how are we part of that? For example, because for me, it's kind of like, well, and it can be overwhelming because you think, well, I probably can't do anything without, having some unforeseen impact on somebody else that I didn't anticipate, that if I did, I'd probably feel really guilty about, and rightly so. It's like the Tin Man stepping on a ladybird, or it's like chaos theory. You do this thing that's good, but you just perhaps don't know the impact it's had somewhere else, and so it gets really complicated. And so the temptation is to do nothing. but it does feel like, from which coffee I choose to drink and how that ensures a fair living wage for the people who produced it, and the environmental impact of the transporting of it, and all of that, right through to who you vote for. Maximus in Gladiator, what we do in life echoes in eternity, and this is serious stuff. And I guess recognizing that it can be overwhelming, and we don't know how to do right for doing wrong, or the unintended consequence stuff. Yeah, how do we just try and put kind of one foot in front of the other and say, well, in this moment, in this act, I am seeking to do this out of love and care for another, in terms of how we use the resources we have. And okay, there will be things in the future that, perhaps with hindsight, we go, but it's still something about integrity, isn't it? I guess, even if we, have a different view in the future, I don't know. And again, I wasn't there. Maybe I'm just being really sort of arrogant and dismissive. But I just, I'd like to think. I don't know. I can't imagine a world or a time that we've done it where we could have genuinely believed that seeing some people as not people, as possessions, based on who they were, where they came from, and what they had that we wanted, how they become possessions and slaves, how we can not see that as how not okay, in terms of reading some of this stuff from Jesus, and that's the church is not immune from being involved in that. Absolutely not. One of the things Methodist Church is considering is about reparation, which is a whole other conversation. But how do we act with integrity, listening to Jesus in a way that it might be good news for those who are on the edge, oppressed, not heard? How might we be that good news, I guess, with integrity, with the humility to say, we might do all the things that we could possibly do, like John Wesley told us to, by all the means we can, to all the people we can, whatsoever we can, and we still might discover later on, actually, knowing what we know now, we probably wouldn't do the same thing again. But still, there seems like there's an imperative and a mandate to do something, right? That's my 25 million pence worth. So thank you, Nigel. So sometimes it's about what they do with it or what we do with it, as it all comes from God. Yeah, that's it, isn't it? That's it, Nigel. Yeah, it's the mindset of, this is my star screen, and this is my star screen. When actually these star screens and the resources, whatever, actually are a gift from God. So hold them lightly, because they are God's. Like, you're right, yeah. Rather than the mindset that says it's all mine and I'm all right, and America first or anywhere else first. That's the mindset. That's the issue. Yeah. Thank you, Nigel. That's huge and profound and incredibly helpful. Thank you. Hello, Patrick. No, never late. Always welcome. Yes, yeah, Torrid. Yeah. And I'm a subscriber to the Rest is History podcast, and I think annually they do a kind of revisit to different aspects of events leading up to, during, and after World War II. Yeah, and some of those examples in terms of how people acted, didn't act. I don't know if you've seen the film Conclave recently. That kind of comes up in there as well. And yet alongside that, people like Dietrich Bonhoeffer, or I don't know if this is the correct pronunciation. I didn't learn German at school. We did French and Russian, which potentially apparently was probably quite prophetic of of my school. As our lecturer at university would describe this, or say his Dietrich's name as Dietrich Bonhoeffer. I don't know if that's how you should say it, but who, I guess perhaps is held up within Christianity as someone we'd aspire to, in the same way that figures who stood up and tried to make a difference, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, yet Bonhoeffer was part of a plot to assassinate Hitler, and they were rumbled, and he was executed. I think it was like the day before wherever he was liberated, or it was very, very close to making it to the end of the war. But again, I know other Christians who would say that, but he's intending to take a life. You don't do that. In the same way that a colleague was arrested, having been found breaking into British aerospace as a Methodist presbyter, to prevent what was being made there being used to go and be sold to other nations who were dropping bombs on Yemen. And in the end, in law, and the Methodist Church absolutely supported this person, in law, the judge found, and it was done along with a Quaker friend of theirs, who absolutely, historically, famously, are about pacifism. So it was non-violent. They damaged property, but weren't going to damage anything else or anybody. And as soon as they were found, sat down, passed over a prepared statement. But at court, it was found that the argument that actually their crime of criminal damage was done in order to prevent a greater crime of stuff produced in this country being sold and used in the annihilation of people in Yemen through dropping bombs. And I remember somebody really, really not being happy that, I'd said this was a positive thing, or that Christians do that because you shouldn't steal. In the same way, Dietrich Bonhoeffer. No, shouldn't kill. So yeah, it is not simple. It is not simple. So again, for each, and maybe again, only ultimately when heaven is on earth, fully for everyone, do we really get how this all might all fit together, and how somehow God is really big enough for all of this, and maybe we can only do what's right in our own eyes based on the information we have, the values of which we've had brought up, the way we hear what Jesus says, and what we genuinely, with integrity and having thought and discerned, prayed, whatever about, come to the view of what might be an action that, with integrity, is about blessing the poor, freedom for the oppressed, and hunger and food provision, access to education, all those things that Maslow's hierarchy of need, is it that way? Maslow's hierarchy of need, all those things that allow others to live life in all its fullness, life in the well-watered garden, which is what Jesus, life in all its fullness is what Jesus says he came to give people. So, yeah, and maybe others are going to criticize for that, which I think is what Jesus says, that that's what happened to prophets in the Old Testament. They all got ignored. It's like, you are no fun at this party. When I go away, that's what happened to Jesus. Like, this is all a bit political, mate. This is going to upset the Romans. We need to get rid of you. And also, how dare you be challenging my status as a religious leader? I don't think so, sunshine. Let's find a way of getting him shut up and carted off and killed. But hey, that other guy who's a convicted criminal, he's cool. He's with the band. He can get him off that cross. It's humanity, it's human nature, it's all this stuff in conversation and conflict. And I don't have any right answers, and maybe none of us do, and maybe somehow, and that's why for me, is about faith, because surely only something bigger than us, bigger than me, bigger than the church or any other religious institution or country or leader. So for me, God, there has to be that, because otherwise I either end up disappearing up my own head and not being able to act, or we're just going to carry on fighting about what is right and what is wrong, and all those different perspectives. And there's probably some truth in each person. I mean, there is some truth in each person's perspective, you know, so it all gets really messy, and there are more than 50 shades of grey. And so maybe I've got to believe in God. And you can say that's the sort of get out of jail free card. And, you know, that's from a philosophical point of view, that's the point of which, you know, your rationality has failed you. Ye of a silly mind. I don't care. I don't care, because actually I need that hope. I need that hope, because I think, as Torrin has said, you know, what happens in war, what's happening now in various places of conflict, that's where we can end up as human beings. And there has to be more than that. There has to be a hope that is beyond us. And so how do we tune ourselves in, and with integrity, with good grace, with a willingness to say we were wrong, with a willingness to hear the other, seek to act for the good of others. Yeah, I have wanged on enough. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so, I mean, maybe you've got it sorted. If you have, I'd love to know. That isn't meant in a sort of condescending, patronizing way. It's like, as you can tell, I can absolutely chew my own head off doing this, because like, I just don't know. I just don't know. So, yeah, I think it can be an absolute brain melt. So what do you bring as and for prayer? Please do pop stuff in. Perhaps we remember those places that are worn, torn, those places where personal, social, organizational, national, ethnic, gendered, stuff, systems, decisions are being used to further disenfranchise and exploit others. Pray for Isabel ahead of this kind of surgery, and again for that congregation, and for all the weddings and the good stuff that's going to happen between now and then, and the way in which it's going to continue to be good news because of the people involved in that church and that community, and they will continue to be good news for those who feel oppressed, marginalised, othered. Hurrah! That is, you are doing it. Yes. Yeah, as well as the song from the VeggieTales, "My God is Bigger Than the Bogeyman." Yeah, it's a song by Disciple, kind of a Christian groove metal band from America, called "My Daddy's Gonna Whoop Your Daddy." That's quite cool. No, absolutely, Isabel, and I do mean it. You know, just you, who you are, and I mean that genuinely. And I've met you in person, but you know, from what I sense through what you share, as does everyone here, and on the Facebook group, you know, this is the good news stuff that Jesus on about in action, because you are bothered about other people. You are, you know, the stuff you've done to support the charities that other musicians are supporting, etc., etc. All of it, surely, in the grand scheme of things, but like Mary anointing the feet of Jesus, God looks at it all and goes, and other people are going, "What a waste! Oh, it's not going to make any difference." And she pours this incredibly expensive stuff on Jesus' feet. She smashes the jar because it's the only way of getting it out. It cannot be replaced. It's done. Everyone's going, could have sold that and done this other good stuff with it. And Jesus just looks at it, because she's done it with integrity and grace and love and care and compassion. And Jesus says she has done a beautiful thing. All of that, all of you, all of the stuff you share, I just think ultimately one day God looks at it, God is looking at it and going, you are a beautiful thing. You are doing beautiful things. Keep on being and doing the beautiful thing. Because it's here and it's now and it's changing. Yes, I mean, it costs nothing. Yeah. Cool. So, God, a bit of, sure. Went off on one there. I don't know. Sorry about that. It's got the old Holy Spirit tingle going on. That's probably just my brain. But yes, let us offer all these prayers, this yearning, this groaning, this crying, that all may be blessed as peacemakers, that all may be rich in spirit and love, and not just peacemakers and cheesemakers, not just all producers of dairy products, but each and every person. And in that time, that will be peace and harmony and amazing chords and notes we've not even heard yet because they're just beyond us. And one day we'll experience it together and it'll be blooming amazing. It will go to 11 and right around the scale again. Yeah. Let's pray.
To the one in whom all people and all creation have their being, may your kingdom come, your will be done, as above, so below. Sustain us for this day. Show us grace as we seek to show grace to those we feel have wronged us. Save us from the worst that is within us and within this world. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen.
Amen. And yeah, absolutely, Isabel. Yeah. And bit by bit, it's naive, I don't know, naive, whatever, but it still keeps me going, bit by bit. The trajectory of the story in the Bible, and even looking back to things that were anathema and illegal and stuff that othered people. I read, Holocaust, apartheid, homophobia, the criminalization of being who you are, made by God in God's image. But yet, the trajectory of history, surely when you look at it, is love and respect and welcome and care and justice and inclusion and the flourishing towards life in all its fullness. So it will be for all people and throughout all the world. Yes, absolutely. I should have just said what Patrick said. That, yes. So thank you for being together. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being good news in who you are and how you are and where you are. Long may you continue. And for supporting each other as we seek to do that individually as well as together. Because we're all aiming towards that and we're all part of making that happen. Yeah. So, blisters and others. I haven't got any notices. Sorry, Angela. Apart from notices being that we're going to try and I have now 3 metal Bibles when they arrive unaccounted for. If anybody wants one. And then also the I don't know. Right, bye everyone.